Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm just going to start a series over the next week or so, which is going to look at each day of the IAE exhibition. So day one is Anvil, as the big Anvil carrack behind me might have given away. And just in case this is the first time you've seen one of these, this comes around once a year along with CIG's big annual sale. But it's actually an in-game expo, so we come to New Babbage, we come to the Tobin Exhibition Centre, and all these ships are going to be on display. So I wanted to put this together just in case any of you sort of not going to be able to make it into game and wanted to see what was going on. Just before I get going though, if you're a new player, this is a perfect time to come and have a go. It's a free fly and all of these ships are rentable for zero in-game or out-of-game money. So even like that carrack, you can take that out for a spin just by walking up to it on the show floor, holding down F and clicking the rent option, which will cost you 0 AUEC. So great time to get involved, but just if you're creating an account, just make sure you use a referral code. Down in the video description below, you'll find a bunch of referral codes. I grabbed a load from my community. That would just get you a bit of extra starting cash, and at the time of recording, a free ship. So with all that said, let's take a look what's on the floor. And before we get into the ships, one of the things I think gets overlooked quite a lot is that a lot of the components and weapons are also on display at IAE. They're unfortunately not available to rent for free, but you can buy them at on the show floor. So considering the inventory changes in 3.15, and a lot of us have been running around to all ends of the verse trying to try and get our ships re-equipped, actually IAE can provide you with a really quick and easy way to buy a lot of weapons and ship components without having to travel around to multiple locations. And particularly when you consider this is at New Babbage this year, and New Babbage has one of the best selections of ship components anyway, so one trip could potentially sort you for all of your various loadout needs. So when you come to the main hall, you'll find the carrack sort of front and centre. But you also find the likes of the Hurricane, the Anvil Hawk, and I believe there's also an Arrow on this part of the floor. And one of the features I really like about these expos is that actually you can get into all of these ships. So if you want to see what the cockpit's like, or sort of a big ship like the carrack, if you've wanted to see what the interior of one of those is like, you can rent it and take it out obviously, but you can also just hop in it and take a look around. Downstairs there's a bit of a feature piece with the Anvil Ballista, the anti-aircraft land vehicle. And over on the other side of this staircase there's actually the Anvil Spartan, which is the APC variant of this chassis, which released today with 3.15.1. So we'll take a look at that a bit later in this video. I think that's the ship we're going to have a bit of a dive into. Down on the lower floor we have the Holo Viewer room. So CIG like to use this to show off some of the concept ships which haven't been released yet. So in the case of Anvil, today's manufacturer, we've got the Liberator, which is for carrying larger amounts of ground vehicles and spaceships. I know the rooms have official names, there's even a map, so I'll definitely learn them at some point during this week, but for today we'll just call this one the Room of Hornets. But it's cool, we get to see some Hornets that we don't usually get to see, like the F7A, which is the actual UE military version that you can't buy in-game or for cash. It's also cool that we see some of the versions of the Hornet, like the Wildfire, and this goes for a load of different ships where there have been like limited release versions. Well, the Wildfire isn't the easiest one to buy, they don't sell it in-game for AUEC. But in this instance you can rent it. Worth noting though that you can't rent the likes of the F7A, which aren't player flyable. And in the final room we've got the Valkyrie, the Terrapin and the F8 Lightning. So again, the F8 Lightning isn't currently player flyable, but damn, it is a cool ship. So the F8 is the reason that I don't have any fighters in my hangar. You can't buy this for money. Well, you can buy it by spending a completely obscene amount of money. Once you hit a certain level of expenditure, they give you one of these. Personally, I intend to get mine by playing through Squadron 42. That's been sort of hinted at that you'll have to progress to a certain level in the single player campaign before you'll be allowed to acquire one of these actually in the PU. But with 8 size 3 guns, which have to be under pilot control since it's a single seater, this is definitely something I would love to own. But at least thanks to the Expo, I can go and sit in the seat of one and imagine that I do own it. And I love that there's things like this in Star Citizen. So it reminds me of real exhibitions I've been to. So I play guitars, and as a kid, I used to go every year to a annual guitar exhibition in Birmingham. And it was worth the price of the ticket just to try out all the Gibson Les Pauls and Fender Telecasters and Stratocasters that I could. So in each of these videos I'm going to take a little bit of time towards the end to take a bit of a deeper look at one of the ships from that manufacturer. It might be released and flyable in game, it might be a concept, just kind of whatever tickles my particular fancy that day. So I thought I'd take a look at the Anvil Spartan since it was literally released today. This is the APC variant of the Ballista, although I think they're terming it the Atlas platform, that basically either can be built out into this APC or the Ballista. It's designed to get your troops into combat at high speed. I took it out for a bit of a spin across the ice lake outside New Babbage, and it is incredibly quick. And the cockpit's really quite nice, got decent visibility. In the back you've got 8 seats to drop your troops. And it sparked quite an interesting discussion in our Discord, because one guy was pointing out how cool would it be, sort of if you've got particularly anti-air defences out at a bunker, you know, take this, drop it off with something like an M2, drive it in to go and do the bunker mission. But as somebody else pointed out, sort of how many of these bunker missions can you really see taking 8 people to do? So I guess what we really want to see is CIG give us enough challenging ground-based gameplay, sort of a real reason to use ground vehicles, because they're clearly committed. They've released an awful lot of ground vehicles. So now what we really need to see is, you know, the actual gameplay to come in to demand that we need to use these. We need to sort of fall back on them, and then that would be really cool to see. And one thing we do in our community over on Discord is to try and run some sandboxy type events to try and get some of the gameplay that we hope that Star Citizen will have further down the line. So we'll probably be trying to do some combat events and use these Spartans when we can get our hands on them in game. So if that sounds like it'd be fun for you, then feel free to check out the link below and come say hi to us. In terms of buying them, just ignore the prices on my screen. Sort of, I can't get it to turn into dollars, which is a lot easier to talk about ship prices in. And also, Boris Johnson is adding 20% to all of my costs anyway. So standalone ship value is going to be $80, so that's where you can use store credit or cash. But if you're using cash, you can go for the War Bond version, which will be $65. Notable, it's only the War Bond version which is coming with lifetime insurance. Ground vehicles tend to be the worst value for money in terms of their real world cost versus their cost in game. They're generally very cheap to buy in game. So personally, I will just be waiting until 3.16 when I can just buy a Spartan in the in-game shops. If you are looking though for a lifetime insurance token to upgrade into a different ship that you're desperate for and you'd like to get LTI on it, then at $65 the Spartan's a pretty good one, and you'll get that extra sort of $15 of value. So for that, pretty good call, but just to buy one, I wouldn't personally recommend it. But as I've said before, and I'll say again, it's your money, you do you. So I hope that was useful if you haven't had a chance to make it to the show. We'll be back tomorrow to cover day 2, which is RSI. I can't promise that I'll be there the moment that the doors open, just like tonight, sort of other things get in the way. puppies in particular have other ideas about how I should spend my time. So, but we'll try our best to get it out on the day. So with that said, if you did enjoy it, then consider dropping a like, hitting subscribe to the channel, and please do get in touch in the comments. I love reading all the comments and having discussions with people. So tell me what your favourite ship of the day is, or if you're looking to make a purchase. It's always good to have a chat. So with all that said, thanks very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.